As World War II came to an end, Tere Moana and Thomas Spooner received the blessing of their baby girl Maraea on May 25, 1945. Maraea began her childhood with her whānau in the Waihua Valley, where she had her first day of school at Waihua Native and still has fond memories of her teachers Mr. and Mrs. Cameron, and riding Jean, her hoiho, to school alongside her siblings. At 8 years old, her and the whānau moved to Raupunga, where she studied at Raupunga School. This is where she saw out the remainder of her schooling. Maraea was an athlete and competed in track and field, hockey and netball. Not only was she, and I quote, an unbeatable runner, but she recalls being selected for Wairoa senior netball trials and having to run to catch the rail car to and from training in the old Army Hall on the Marine Parade. Now let me introduce Nurse Spooner, a 17-year-old fresh-faced straight from the classroom into the Napier Hospital where she nursed and cared for the elderly. One of the many special memories she recalls was caring for Mere Hall, the tumuake of Hukarere. Mere and her would spend afternoons together learning and singing Māori waiata, where they formed an unforgettable bond. When I asked Nan what happened next, she replied, "Well, I got a boyfriend." Apparently, Ariel had become a frequent at the milk bar where she would spend her downtime after work, and I quote, "That is all anyone needs to know about that." When she announced she would be leaving the nurses' station at the hospital for a job at Randall House, supporting children who no longer had their parents, there were many tears. The patients didn't want to see her go. 64 was a whirlwind of a year. Maraea started a new job at the Brothmans factory in Ahuriri, got married to her beloved Ariel, gave birth to her first child Gerald, and then packed up for a life of more opportunities and moved to Auckland. My children were my life. This was the beginning of raising her tribe. After Gerald came, Michelle arrived in 1966, Ricky in 68, Darren in 70, Marie in 74, and finally Nathan in 1978. It was obvious that nurture was Maraea's nature, and she thrived on the well-being of her loved ones. But not only did she spend her days raising her kids, she would have the household set for Ariel's arrival home from work, where she would swap over to do several different night shift jobs. Raven Brothers Factory, Fisher and Paykel in the cafeteria, and cleaning at the Duke of Wellington, to name a few. This enabled them to buy their very first home in Pakuranga, Auckland. After over 15 years away from home, it was time for their return. They sold up and invested their money in the local convenience store in Raupunga, where they owned and operated the shop and lived in the house on State Highway 2. It was there on out Maraea became heavily involved in many community kaupapa, from teaching sewing and cooking up at the school to joining Ariel in the Pāhauira Incorporated Society, and even being a part of the beginning of Ngāti Pāhauira Te Kohanga Reo. Yet another example of Nan's natural tendency to nurture and awhi the development of the kids of the local community and beyond. In 91, Maraea's resilience was tested to the fullest, when tragedy struck and heaven required her beloved husband Ariel and precious daughter Marie. At this time, there were many mokopuna coming into her world to help her stay strong, grounded, and busy. Her days of raising a tribe were far from over, and her dedication to her growing whānau was her saving grace. A decision was made to move to Hastings to live with Michelle, Ed and the kids. In true Nan fashion, she went straight out and found herself a few odd jobs to ensure her contribution. After a stint at Waddies and a local apple pack house, she found herself linked in with Haka Publications, where she worked as a journalist travelling between Hastings and Wairoa, interviewing Māori business owners for stories to be published in the Ngāti Kahungunu paper. It was around this time where she helped Auntie Josephine in the beginning of the Kohanga movement at Tu Meke Taniwha Te Kohanga Reo. She also worked alongside Auntie Judy, Leighton and Georgina to publish and print the Māori Kaya Cookbook, which was released for sale in both New Zealand and Australia. 98 marked the return back to the whānau home on State Highway 2, where she was soon after approached to join the team with her expertise and experience at Te Rau o Te Orewa Te Kohanga Reo. She spent over 2 decades under that roof, teaching, nurturing and raising several generations of Raupunga tamariki. Right up until 2020, where she had her very last day at the age of 75, when she reluctantly finished up due to the controversial vaccine requirements. She has been sorely missed ever since. With her ever-growing whānau of mokopuna and great mokopuna, her days of teaching and guiding our tamariki have been far from over. Nan takes great joy in watching her moko play sports, perform kapahaka and achieve highly in their kura and studies. She is a testament of the whole whānau's ability to work hard, move with dignity, and stay rooted in the whenua of our tipuna. So join me tonight as we raise a glass for Nene Maraea and take a look and acknowledge all of her outstanding achievements, her memorable moments, and the loved ones that make up 80 years of Maraea Aranui.